I stumbled upon a message board thread, and it said, on Late Kick, they've been doing mood trackers. So if and when they do USC, let's just go ahead and give them some ideas. And sure enough, there's a whole thread. There's a 2-page thread over there where they're just offering up their moods voluntarily. That is the kind of initiative that we like to label Pate State material. So they're excited about Lincoln Riley, but you know the difference in the excitement in Southern Cal and the excitement that just any old program would have is Southern Cal's been to the mountaintop before, and it wasn't a million years ago. And so enough of those folks know what the capability of that program is that they're happy to get excited about a guy. But once the confetti is on the ground and, once the ticker tape parade is over and he's settled into his new mansion, it's time to get to work. And we love having you, but you're going to be held to the same standard as everyone else, including the guys we fired before you because they couldn't get it done. But with that in mind, I made the mood of the USC fan base caroling because of what I just talked about. There is excitement that for the first time, they've got a guy the caliber of what they had in the early to mid-2000s. That guy's name was Pete Carroll. Maybe you've heard of him. Children, if you haven't, go look it up. Because there's a very inconvenient truth that people in the South and people in the Midwest do not like to acknowledge. And that is Southern Cal, when they're operating at peak efficiency, is not just a pretty good program. It's a nightmare for the rest of the country. When USC is clicking on all cylinders, it is a nightmare for the rest of America. Some of us remember it once upon a time. Some of us remember, now I was back in school, but some of us remember when you looked out west and you didn't, it's not like you prayed for injury or something, but you had to hope like some random upset was going to happen that knocked them out because you knew if you had to run up against them in postseason play, unless you got Vince Young, you weren't going to fare much better than like Oklahoma did that year. What did they hang? 55 on Oklahoma in a title game. So they remember all that. I call that caroling. That was the Pete Carroll era. And then there was a bunch of guys who, suffice it to say, were not Pete Carroll. And now they got Lincoln Riley. More on Lincoln Riley in a second. If you haven't met him, I'll introduce you to him. But I have a couple of criticisms that even some of the Southern Cal fans will acknowledge. But I think a lot of the criticisms outside of USC fandom are more wishing than actual acknowledging real problems. Let me tell you what they sound like. Right now, there's a healthy portion of the college football public, the more casual public, that would tell you USC is not recruiting well enough. Well, they're not recruiting number one classes, but what if I told you, if you looked at their combined recruiting ranking for this year, which is portal and recruiting class combined, their class would rank number 2 in the Big Ten, which is where they're about to head, trailing only Ohio State. Is this not the standard? Is this not the talent acquisition standard I'm supposed to be holding them to? That's the way you should be thinking about that, by the way. Also, now this is the money criticism. Defense, not good enough. No, it's not. No, it has not been. And it wasn't when he was at Oklahoma, he being Lincoln Riley. It wasn't. You got some woeful numbers on the screen right now, and if you're listening on podcast, it's not worth a Google. It's not worth a DuckDuckGo. Don't Bing it. Don't anything. Just trust me, it's bad. As much as we're caroling around here, this is very Grinch-like. And if there's one Grinch that can ruin caroling, it's the one leading this defense right now. Now, I was listening to Lincoln Riley talk the other day. As I told you, I was parked in the office, high atop Nashville, Tennessee, all by myself. And he said all the right things about progress, year 1 to year 2. And he said all the right things, and I do believe him, about adding quality second-line depth. Last year, yeah, they had some good frontline players. It was like falling off a cliff if they ever had to dig into their depth a little bit. But someone on the Peristyle actually made a good point. He said, I'm excited about this year because either we're going to the playoff or we're totally overhauling the defense. And I think he's right. They're not going to miss the playoff because of offense. They're going to miss the playoff because they can't stop molasses in December, even in Southern California. And if that's the case, then he's got options. That's a destination for 99% of defensive coordinators or potential defensive coordinators in America. So Lincoln Riley would have his pick. He's not going to keep his wagon hitched to a guy who can't get it done. He believes in Alex Grinch. That's why he still got him there. And look, he's the head coach, so he makes the decisions. But I think that poster was right. Either they go to the playoff because defense has improved enough, or they're overhauling things, and then year 3 will be the biggest excitement year. They've got the 4th best playoff odds in America right now, this upcoming year. They have got a schedule that's very workable. They have got a returning Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. They are recruiting guys that inevitably will, in the future, be in the Heisman conversation. They're in it for Dylan Raiola. They're in it for Deuce Robinson. Deuce Robinson is a guy. Jesse, you were at Elite 11. So we go out to Elite 11 last year, and we are watching the quarterbacks because it's a quarterback event. And then all of a sudden, there's this receiver who's just there, and it turns out it's him. And he's over there. He's just working out because you got to have receivers out there for the quarterbacks to throw to. So they could end up being ranked even higher than they are right now in recruiting. They are 14th in returning production this year. And that's number 1 in the Pac-12. And this is a team that was on the precipice of winning the Pac-12 last year. I can't tell you what would have happened if Caleb Williams was healthy in the Pac-12 title game. And I know they don't like me saying that in Salt Lake City, but I don't know what would have happened. I have a feeling they would have won the game. That's my feeling, which is worth what it's worth. Anyway, irrelevant. If he's healthy this year, they're the favorites and should be the favorites. And they've got, like I said, much better depth this year. So overall, I mean, let's please not kid ourselves about this. You can tend to do the same thing with Lincoln Riley that people do with Notre Dame. I already spoke my piece on Notre Dame earlier. They do the same thing with Lincoln Riley they do with Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes up against the very best in the country. They don't beat Bama. They don't beat Clemson. And someone's got them ranked 5th and say, oh, they're overrated. No, they're not. They lost to teams ranked higher than them. Lincoln Riley does not have Nick Saban's resume. He doesn't have Kirby's resume. Okay? I'm quickly running out of the list of folks who have a better resume than him. The guy has quite literally won double-digit games every year of his head coaching existence. He's a monster who is just getting started. He could be a head coach for another quarter century for all we know. So some folks would lead you to believe, hey, you just are who you are. I'm a believer that the folks at the top of any food chain are there because of adaptability and because of the ability to evolve and the ability to learn and, if need be, reinvent themselves. I don't believe the things that have limited, your words, not mine, Lincoln Riley so far in his career are always going to be to his detriment. I believe there is coming a time where a Lincoln Riley team will play plenty good enough defensive football for him to otherwise take advantage of the way he acquires offensive talent, calls plays, and develops a program, and they'll win a championship. I firmly believe that. I'm not saying it's 2023. I'm just saying he's got a while. He's not 78 years old. He's got a while. So there's every reason in the world to be ecstatic, or caroling, if you will, if you're a USC fan.